the dog, when the first time I saw it, was near the door when you walk onto the stage. And when we walked in, everybody went, "Oh shit," you know, because it was like,
Yeah,
you know,
it was really good.
and it didn't move. Then
Face
it
peeled back.
didn't move, and it was like, "Oh wow, no, that's not a dog."
You guys know how the cake is baked because you're there, you're waiting for setups, you're seeing that stuff kind of wheeled in versus, you know, getting to see it all finished. And what were your impressions of seeing his stuff when he's bringing it on set and you guys are setting up? Were you thinking, okay, I know how this is going to be, versus when you finally get to see it cut together and what it looks like when it's in play? Was there a huge disconnect? Did it actually scare you, you know, when you ended up watching it and then, you know, just looking at what he was bringing onto the set, which was hugely impressive?
Since I know exactly how it was done, you can't scare me with that stuff. In our case, in the thing, you know, especially Halloran's head walking across the floor, you know, that was pretty cool.
Great.
That was all, you know, radio. You know, there was a lot of tricky stuff.
Yeah.
David Glennon's head splitting open, and you know, there was a lot of stuff that I think, given the fact that there was no CG, is pretty amazing.
No,
It was
nice.
fascinating. I mean, I remember the first day we walked in and saw the dog that explodes.
Right.
And I think as I recall, the ACP, the ASAP came in because they thought it was a real dog.
Nice.
And wanted to make sure that we weren't mistreating these animals.
Right.
But you know, when they had, and it was all air pumps then.
Yeah.
And once they started doing all the pumping, you know, like a marionette, you know, it was fascinating because you could not tell that wasn't a real dog. In fact, the dog, when the first time I saw it, was near the door when you walk onto the stage. And when we walked in, everybody went, "Oh shit," you know, because it was like, you know,
it was really good.
and it didn't move. Then
Face
it
peeled back.
didn't move, and it was like, "Oh wow."
Was there, on the sound stages, either of you remember if there was a sequence that was particularly hard to pull off?
There was one in particular that I think was really hard for everybody, which is the scene where the monster comes out of Charlie O'Hallahan. I always want to say O'Hallahan. Halloran is his name, I think. Because, first of all, he had to sit there and underneath that table for like hours and hours. It was a big, giant makeup setup. And the whole coordination with the Dicehart double, which was this double amputee guy that had a Richard Dicehart mask on.
The splitting open chest,
Yeah.
you know, was a unique image and sequence with some unique solutions.
And Charlie was sitting like this, so the table's like this, so his head's like this, right? So he's been sitting in this like slanted chair for hours, like 3-4 hours, while they're doing all this stuff and the blah 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 and blending it all in. And I just remember that was a good, you know, 4 or 5 hours of intense, like, you know, because the guy was dying, the other guy was dying, the double amputee with all the shit he had going on in the face and the thing, and he couldn't breathe in the mask, and Charlie was dying and he couldn't breathe, and we got to take the mask off. No, we got to put the mask back. You know, it was that.
Was there anything that in particular that money bought you on this one? Was it time to be able to shoot? Was it that you got to play with maybe a couple more bells and whistles in terms of what you wanted to accomplish?
I think that a lot of it was the fact that Rob Bottin's special effects, which were extensive and you know, time-consuming for him to make, but also for us to shoot. Those things sort of made the big difference, I think, for me, for as far as what we were going to have to see and photograph.